when I decided to do it, the first thing I did was
So the big question is, what are the top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams, and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? If you ever thought about this, you're not alone. No one has been able to get the answers until now.
We spent the last few years helping agents sell billions in real estate, rubbing shoulders with top producers, which got us thinking, how can we expose more people to these insights to help raise the standard in the whole real estate industry? We then realized that we could help bridge the gap by getting the secrets from the best of the best so that you can succeed. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
But I think this is a bit more personal, and I'm very thankful that you're willing to kind of share this with us, because I know there is people who will listen to this who are in this situation, who aren't willing to kind of open up about it. And it's going to be a bit of a sore topic, but I think it's something that is quite rampant in real estate. And I think it's a real worthwhile topic to discuss. So,
and to your point, Andrew, before we go any further, it's one of the things that when we created this podcast, we want to talk about the shit that nobody was willing to talk about in the open. And Shane is bold enough to bring this up because of his experience, right?
Yeah,
which I think drives it even further.
So let's dive into drinking.
Sure.
A lot.
Yeah, drinking a lot. Like that's, I thought I needed it to do this, and just like in this, because it's so prevalent in what we do, right? You feel like before coming on a podcast like this, I'd have been like, well, I better pregame a little bit, take the edge off, right? Or doing a stressful deal, like, or I got to go to an event where people are going to be at. I better have a few. And I'll be honest with you, my thing was never getting drunk. It's always, how can I get drunker? Like I never had the off switch when I was drinking. I was always trying to get a little bit more drunk than I was, right? And that's where it's dangerous. Like it was drinking to blackout, drinking, and it's constantly was a problem. And I thought I needed it to deal with the stress of the kind of business that I do. And I used it as like, well, I deserve this because what I do is really stressful. You know, I'd always make excuses with my wife. I'm like, well, you don't get it because, you know, your business is different. Like, I need this. This is how I unwind. This is how I do this. Right. And so I've been now, I guess it's been about I think going close to 6 months of no drinking at all. It's pretty new, I think, in terms of sobriety. Sometimes people say like that's
you got to give yourself the credit, never discount it. That's a big step. One
Enjoy
day at a time.
Wins. Yeah, congratulations.
But it's been a big change in my life, because like I was drinking almost every day. There was very, very rare that I didn't have a drink, at least some kind of drink. And the problem with mine was, like I said, it was just, there was no off switch. Like it would be like everyone else has gone to bed and, oh, there's still a little bit of, you know, there's still half a bottle of wine. Well, I better like everyone's already like just drinking to the point where so unhealthy. And like, where was this going to go? Like health wise for me, like I started to have, it just scared me, of what was I going to be like 10 years from now? Was I going to be around 10 years from now? Right. Because of the level of drinking, like there's so many problems that can come out of that. And I can say like, it's been, like I said, under 6 months. I've been able to lose 30 pounds.
Wow. Holy hell.
I feel way better. My relationships with my family are better. I used to pride myself on not having the hangover. Like I never was late for work, and never, like, we used to talk, used to joke that while I was I'm a very high functioning alcoholic is what I would say. Right. That, I was almost proud of it, that I could get so obliterated and still come back the next day and go. But what I've noticed is it just was a different type of person showing up after drinking the next day. Right. And it was just a cycle where I just didn't have patience, like now I look back and think about the times like, I've forgiven myself already. I'm not going to cry now, but a lot of wasted days for me is what it was. And I guess I just want to encourage anyone that does struggle with that they can reach out and talk about it. It's tough to do. Luckily I had good support, like my wife was very supportive. Brad I actually went to his wedding. I was supposed to be a groomsman. I was in his wedding party and I decided that I was no longer drinking. And, so I went to his wedding that way, completely sober. And,
God help you. And you're still here with us today.
And I'm still here. And
that is a big,
didn't have a drink.
Thing.
And I had a lot of fun. That's what I was like, what? I went to a wedding and I was dancing and I was having fun with people. And I was like,
and you didn't need to be fucked up for this.
I didn't need to. And, for me, the moment came when, I had gone out to Montreal. I'm a big hockey fan, and I had gone to a playoff game. The tickets were super expensive. Thank Brad for that. He got me and a friend of mine into the game. It was playoffs. It was nuts. I drank so much that it was like, why? The next day I was just like, I was at this thing that I've waited my whole life to be at. And I got so drunk that like almost kind of messed with the experience. Right. And I was just like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to do 90 days. And then my personality, I was like, if I say 90 days, I'm going to be counting down. I'm 89, I'm 88, I'm 80. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a year, because that at least a year is too far out that I can't start counting days. It's too much for me. So I was like, I'm going to do a year. And honestly, now that I'm almost 6 months in, I've decided that year is now, it's not a year.
Now it's like
just
5
forever.
years, 10 years, forever.
It just can't be a part of my life.
That's big, because you're committing not only to yourself, but to your family, to the people that love you, to your business, to your production. It's crazy to think that we are talking about producing at such a high level. And then here you have this whole nother story that you're sharing with us for everybody to see. Like, no matter what you're going through, you can put your shit away and you can still produce. But when you deal with it, you can go that much faster and that much bigger, Yeah,
like my anxiety, like I used to, a lot of it I did is drinking was to get rid of the anxiety, because I would have this crippling anxiety where I was had panic attacks, didn't want to get out of bed. And so then I would drink to help that. But then it's just this cycle that just brings anxiety worse. Right. And now that, now when I have a stressful thing, I use working out to deal with it. And I just feel so much better. Like before, it was like, if I had a deal that was pissing me off or things aren't going right, I'd be like, well, tonight I can start drinking a little early. I got to deal with this stress that I got going on. Right. And now it's like, I'll do a run, I'll go do a workout, and I still get that stress relief, but I feel like I'm going to be around a lot longer for my family. I feel like I'm going to be able to be better for them. Like, dropping 30 pounds, not having, like, there's a lot of health benefits with not drinking. But most of it for me is mentally, I just feel so much stronger. I feel so much better. And I see, I made kind of a joke about having a drink in front of my kids, and their faces were both just like, no, because like they've obviously noticed a difference in me, that they don't want to see me go back.
We've known you for a few months, and you have a bigger smile on your face.
Yeah.
Than you used to.
Yeah. Well, it's like anxiety has been a big problem for me. And a lot of the times to deal with that anxiety was you have a drink and you're like, oh, now I've shelved, I've got rid of my anxiety. All I was doing was taking that anxiety, pushing it down and ignoring it until it would come up, and then I would drink to get rid of it again. But it just kept building and building and building to the point where then I would have days where like, just panic attacks all night where you couldn't sleep. And like, it's like, I'm just so much happier. Like, I listened to a really good book. It talked about your baseline happiness. And I didn't understand what that meant because I was always like, oh, I need to drink to be happy. And now I've just realized that like, I'm happy just hanging out. Like, I don't have to be doing something. And I just feel like good. And that's the exciting part for me.
So for anybody who's listening, who's dealing with their own shit, they're dealing with their own demons, what can you share with them that can show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that they don't need this in order to be really themselves, right? Because it seems like you were masking a part of not only the stress, but then who you truly are based on the comment that you shared with us about your kids.
The first thing I'd say is you got to get help from someone, because when you keep it all to yourself, like you can cheat on yourself. Like I recently went down to LA. I got there a day. I'm a huge BTS fan, K-pop. It's hard to believe, but I am. I went down a day early. My wife was coming the next day. I'm also a Clippers fan. I was going to go to the Clippers game, and I'm sitting there's a sports bar nearby. I'm waiting for my tickets to show up. They're not showing up. And I'm like, oh man. And I'm just thinking, like, I'm in LA, no one's around. I could get completely crippled right now drinking and nobody would know. But because I've shared this with so many people, and like, whenever you make a promise to other people, like you're going to hold to it stronger than to yourself. Right. And so that's why I say, like, talk to someone, let someone else know that you're struggling. And if you're thinking like, hey, I want to take a break, whatever, 30 days or whatever it is, you're like, I need help with something, like share it with someone that you trust, because you're going to hold yourself more accountable knowing that you've told someone something. And that's helped me a lot.
You're failing yourself and them.
Yeah. And I know that was a big thing. When I decided to do it, the first thing I did was I told Brad and I told my wife that, okay, you know what? I'm not going to drink. Before I had a chance to decide the next night, like I did, it was like the morning that after I drank, and I woke up the next morning and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to. And I told them that, which then meant that next night I didn't have a chance to then chicken out and do it. Right. Like I had to follow through because I've shared it with someone, and I wasn't going to let them down after telling them this. And so that was the big curve, because I'd had many times where I woke up in the morning and was like, I'm not going to drink again, or I'm going to take a break. Then I didn't tell anyone. And by the next evening come around and I was like, well, yeah, maybe I will. You know what?
No harm, no foul here.
No one knows any different. Right. But once you've shared with someone, it helps.
That's the thing. I mean, they always say that you don't know. Do you know the true test of loyalty is when, let's say you got a wife. The true test of loyalty is when you know you could cheat, and you know you're 100% you would get away with it, and you still don't do it. That's the true test, because it's to you. Because you know, like, I could do this, I can get away with it, I can go crazy, and no one will ever know but me. But that is when it changes. It's like, yeah, but like, I'm a loyal person. And these are fundamental core beliefs. I think what you've touched on is such a strong, like, personal, it's like a driving factor, because I use this a lot. For example, like they talk about self-confidence, self-esteem, and like, why do some people have it and some people not? I would say I'm, a pretty confident person. And I was actually reading and learning from a gentleman kind of probably a couple of days ago. And he was like a big, like one of the largest reasons for, strong self-esteem, strong self-confidence is in your life, you have repeatedly told people when you're going to do something and you've actually done it. So, deep down, you are you follow through, you fucking do what you say you're going to do. And that even when no one's checking, no one's looking up on you, you followed through. That is a huge driving force for your own self-confidence and self-esteem, which is, it's like this weird non-tangible because no one else knows you didn't do it. But it's when you make yourself promises too. I'm going to make 300 cold calls a day. Listen, you can get to 299 and you can go to bed that night. If you are true to yourself and like you're loyal and you're a man of your, or a woman of your word, that'll eat you up. It doesn't matter that it's 1. It's not 300. That's the point. It's like, do what you fucking say you're going to do, right? As much as you hate it, do it.
I was, whenever that comes up, do you guys know David Goggins?
Yes. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So I went to a Tom Ferry event in Vegas, and Brad and I were there, and we had drank so much. And the next morning, got up and we're supposed to be at the conference, and we're like, we can't get out of bed. And so we're like, oh, we can put it on Facebook. So we put it on Facebook, and then David Goggins was there and just talking about all the things he's gone through. And I'm like, I can't get out of bed. And so now whenever like I think about not finishing something, I always picture his voice, because like, if I say I'm going to go to the gym now, even if I just go and I'm only there for 20 minutes, like say whatever it is, I'm not feeling it, but I still go through the motion, put on the shoes, go in, look at yourself in the mirror, do 1 push-up, come back out. At least that you're keeping your habits and you're following through with what you said you were going to do by going to the gym. And eventually then you just become a person that you're now a guy who goes to the gym instead of a guy who doesn't go to the gym. Right. And I think that's the big thing. Like I've looked at, when I stopped drinking, I was like, I just expected myself to look shredded immediately. I was like, oh, I'm just going to drop this weight. I'm going to look ripped right away. And I realized that, it's not about that. It's about every day, following this new lifestyle and imagining what it's going to look like for my life 5 years from now. Like, don't think about, oh, hey, by March, what am I going to look like? Right. Because it's really, really, really tough to get results in a short period of time unless you do drastic things. And I'm not looking for a drastic lifestyle. Like I want something that I can maintain. Right. And so now I think about it, it's like, well, you know what? If I continue with this and these habits, what am I going to look like 5 years from now? And honestly, I'm pretty excited for that. Like I'm looking forward to what I am going to be 5 years from now. And I think I'm implementing a lot of that stuff in my business as well. Now it's helping with me because I'm thinking about, how do I get better? And I don't have to learn something drastic every day, but if I can just pick up a little bit of something and I do that every day, what's it going to look like for my business 5 years from now? And that's what I love about this, agent attraction and stuff that we do is, I'm not focused on, I need to do so much in one day. It's like, I just need to do just a little bit. Can I just do a little bit here? Can I just do a little bit better than I did the day before and a little bit and a little bit? And eventually that's going to equal a lot. And that's what I'm looking to do is just be a better version of myself all the time for my family, for myself. That's a big thing. If you were asking about any advice for someone, like I said, you got to tell someone, but you also got to you got to forgive yourself for anything you feel you've done wrong before is a big thing. And you got to give yourself permission that you can do what you say you want to do there. You got to let yourself, you're worth it. Like if you've been struggling with something and you're like, I want to make this change, but I just don't think I'm not worth it. Like you are. Like you need to give yourself permission to say like, I'm worth it. I'm going to do this for me. You don't have to necessarily do it for someone else. If it's you that needs to do it for you, but just give yourself permission that you're worth it and you're valuable and just find the help that you need to be successful with it. And make sure put yourself in good positions. Like I didn't go to Brad's wedding the first day that I said I wasn't going to drink. Like I got about 30 days under my belt where I'm feeling like I'm pretty good at this before I put myself in a situation like that. Like, I avoided going to some of the events that in the beginning until I started to have those habits.
The willpower.
Right? now, yeah, like, because I've built that up, because now, it takes a while for a habit to form, right? It's not 2 weeks of doing something and you have a habit, right? It's like 3 months of doing it that it becomes a habit, right? And so give yourself that time where you're like, you know what? When I go out, I drink soda water with lime, right? But I've been doing that for 3 months. Now it's just a habit. So when it comes up and they're like, hey, do you want a beer? It's like, oh no, I'm not a guy who drinks beer. I'm a guy who drinks this, because I formed that habit over time. And I didn't put myself in positions where yes, I tested myself recently when I'm alone and at a sports bar. I probably wouldn't do that in the first week, right? Probably not the move, but I feel a lot more confident in myself now, because I'm just like, I'm not a guy who drinks. I'm just not. I'm a guy who works out. I'm a guy who's healthy. I'm a guy who's there for their kids. I'm a guy who has patience. Used to not have very much patience. That's something that without booze, my patience level, like, I've got way more patience. Before it was like snap fest all the time, right? So I appreciate you guys giving me that time to be able to talk about that, because it's something really passionate for me.
Yeah.
I just want people to know that, like, there's
other people out there struggling.
There are other things you can do, right? Like,
yeah.
You don't have to, just because it's weird that when you say you don't drink, people look at it that it's strange, right? Like, if you're like, hey, I'm an alcoholic, right? Like, that's almost like that's more normal in our industry than being like, oh, I don't drink, right?
Yeah, I didn't drink. I don't know. I'm sure Peter knows this, but I didn't drink for 5 years. 5 years I stopped.
Oh, wow.
And like, mine was a little bit different, like the reason and the journey why, but like, it's not a huge thing for me anyway, if I'm deadly honest. Like, it's not a massive thing. Like, I'll have a beer or two and I'm done anyway. Like, I'm not a big lover of like a lot of alcohol anyway. Like, don't get me wrong, like a gin and tonic or a cold beer on a hot day is like, hell yeah. But yeah, that we don't want to go down that whole route right now. But Shane, I super appreciate you opening up about that. What I want to do is just, if people want to reach out to you, get in touch, learn about what you're doing, training, help, mentorship, talk about, any struggles, whatever it could be, how could they reach out to you? It could be socials, email, phone, whatever you want.
Yeah. So yeah, if they could check me out on Instagram, it's Apex Agent Academy. That's something business partner Steve and I have put together, just putting together a bunch of great programs. Part of that is double your income coaching. Part of that is some social media training. We've got great stuff for agents. That's a good way to reach me. I'll respond. You can slide into my DMs anytime, and I'll definitely get back to you.
Love it. Shane, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been incredibly eye-opening. We really appreciate you sharing your story. And everyone, I hope you enjoyed listening, and we will see you in the next one. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Now, before you go, we're giving access to a private training we did where we revealed the top 3 niches to get listings today completely for free. So if you want access, you can go and download that training at eliteagentsecrets.com. We're regularly releasing new trainings, guides, and cheat sheets, so make sure to head over to eliteagentsecrets.com and sign up so you don't miss out.